I think the South West economy is strong and it's come through the recession well. The issue is that people are confused about where to go for sources of funding.
Well, we've had exceptional interest today, and that seems to me to be saying that businesses in the South West are keen to explore the many and varied sources of finance.
Yeah, the interest in today's event is extraordinary, and we've had 250 delegates, all interested in knowing more about finance in the South West.
What businesses will have learned today, I think, is that there is a multiplicity of sources of finance. A lot of SMEs have been dissatisfied with the service they've been getting from their banks. We've obviously been through a banking crisis, and banks have been under pressure, firstly to avoid bad loans in the future and also to recapitalise. And this, I think, has presented something of an opportunity, because there are now so many different sources of finance, whether we're talking about debt or whether we're talking about equity. And some of this is also being propelled by new technology, the existence of crowd financing. In other words, platforms which bring together people who wish to invest with people who wish to borrow, transforms the situation.
Equity is definitely underutilised as part of the funding package, and this is partly due to supply and demand. Business Growth Fund was set up to address this funding gap, so that sorts out the supply side. So we'd like to see more demand from companies for this type of funding.
The recession has caused an issue with the banks not being able to fund as much as they perhaps would like from their balance sheets. The times come for other funders to step in. Grant funding may be one route, crowdfunding may be another. Equity funding is probably one of the most easiest to sort out.
Historically, bank funding was the predominant source of funding, but since the recession, businesses have struggled to access that funding, and things like crowdfunding and equity funding have become more common.
In some fields, like crowdfunding, we're now seeing phenomenal rates of growth, which is not surprising. I mean, this is a new technology which really taps into sources of finance that were never available before. There are lots of individuals in this country who might have thought of buying shares in the past, but they've never thought of participating in funding an entrepreneur in the direct way that's afforded by these new platforms. So I think we're going to see really an extraordinary rate of growth in these new funding opportunities. Two of the things that this produces are transparency and competitiveness. So I think this is an immense advantage to SMEs, maybe from a situation a few years ago where they felt like they were begging for finance. I think they're now going to find themselves in a situation where investors are falling over themselves to finance. They're going to be demanding investors. They're going to be investors who want to see, good growth opportunities, and they want to be very interested in how the businesses are run. But nonetheless, I think that is an extraordinary opportunity compared with where we were a few years ago.
Well, I think undoubtedly confidence in the South West is increasing. And as it does increase and businesses seek to grow, they're going to obviously seek to find new sources of finance. A lot of what's been said today has just been helping businesses along to identify what they can do to help themselves.
Events like this are great for businesses because it gives them an overview of all of the different types of funding available to them, which they might not have known about before.
The chance to network with other providers and get almost like a one-stop shop to find out information about how they can fund growth for their business.
Business confidence is returning. The headline figures of the British economy are pretty good, particularly by comparison with the Eurozone, which is still struggling. And even though I think living standards are going to be pinched for 2 or 3 years to come, nonetheless, the fact is that growth is what people are talking about.
I think confidence has increased. The economy is coming out of recession and businesses are looking to expand and move forward. And the reality is, to do that, they will need funding.
At Francis Clark, we believe that we're part of the business community. It's important to us that that community thrives, and therefore it's important to Francis Clark that our clients can identify the sources of finance that they need to prosper.